Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome back to Reaper Pro-Tips with me, your host, Anne, and disembodied hands, Quindy and Justin. John, I assume, is still buried. Hello, everyone. Guten Morgen. Hello, hello, hello. Hello tout le monde, to quote my old French instructor. Yes, indeedy. Yes. Well, I'm gonna jump right into it because I'm like gonna get the base coat on this sucker while you guys are saying hi and telling me about your day. I'm having the hardest time ordering like big fat brushes lately. I think I'm just gonna order a Reaper big fat brush if they have one. I need a big fat brush. I feel like my brushes are not big and fat enough for me to tackle some like serious big projects, megatures as I call them. It is the bronze golem from the Greek Odyssey set of Bones 5 Kickstarter. As I threatened you all, we are going to be starting some models that are indeed bigatures from that set, because I really like the Greek Odyssey set, almost all of it. There are a couple models I'm like meh on. But maybe I'll do some conversion work on those, and then I'll like it all. Can't lose. All right, so we're going to do some fun stuff, guys, because I, like you always should, I researched bronze golems today. When I woke up, I was like, I'm painting a bronze golem. I should research it. You got to wean yourself off of that slowly, real Green. You gotta wean yourself off the feed because they're almost unfulfilling, I bet. Knowing how fast Reaper goes once they get going, like, it's gonna go away. It's gonna go away till next Kickstarter. You just gotta get used to it now. Just to slowly wean yourself off of the warehouse feed. Unless you can talk Ed into a constant warehouse feed. But it wouldn't be nearly as exciting as you'd think. So I'm using walnut on here, and I'm using walnut on here as a base for a reason. And I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. So, okay, guys, so I researched bronze golems. Can anybody tell me about bronze golems? There's a very interesting feature of bronze golems in 5th edition that I have chosen to play with. That's funny, Holly. Like an internet, yeah. I'm sure the internet girls would not like to be on camera, and guys would not like to be on camera constantly, but, you know, maybe. Ah, yeah, so, interestingly, in 5th edition, and maybe in previous editions, I'm not sure, I haven't read up on it, but in 5th edition, bronze golems are partially steam-powered. They have a boiler inside of their chest that emits great amounts of heat. So can you tell me what we're going to do? We're going to do a heat glow effect. Yes, we are. We're going to try it. Now, the problem with this, the problem inherent in the system, is that we're doing metallics on this model. And whenever you are doing an illusion, effect that is pure illusion, like an MM or OSL, or, you know, this is a form of OSL, right? We're going to have the panel line, the lines between these ribs probably are going to glow, or the ribs lines themselves are going to glow. But the glow effect. Whenever you have an effect that is pure illusion and you try to marry it with something that is not pure illusion, i.e. metallics, which are meant to actually mimic metal because they shine, you run into trouble. It usually does not look as good. I'm willing to try it here because I think it's a really cool piece of fluff, and I am all about fluff. I think I'm going to do it here and maybe here. And it said that there could also be like superheated steam hissing out of cracks and seams around the model's jaws. So we'll do part of it probably around the face. We'll try it. The face is a little bit in shadow. So just like we talked about with Mushroom Queen, doing OSL there is kind of dicey. But I'm going to try. We'll see. I might be able to just make the eyes kind of a sullen red and make some heat coming out along the jawline here, this panel. In which case, I've got to... And the reason I'm using walnut here, I think I'm just going to do the whole head in walnut just to set it up. I do all of my heat effects with walnut as a base, not black. I like it a little bit better because when you're doing a charred thing, at least when there's still heat in it, you don't really see a pure black in the cold spots until they're super cold, right? Until they're starting to ash. Like maybe in it's super cold comparatively speaking. So like here, I have an example. I looked it up on my phone because phones are useful that way. 1 second. Let's just get this head blocked in and then I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. But bottom line is I don't like to use pure black when I'm doing glowing effects. I find that a dark brown, essentially walnut is just a warm black, works for me a little bit better, I think, because I can blend it in. I'm just going to do the whole thing. Heck with it. Need a dark base coat on everything anyway, although I'm pretty sure we're making the crest purple, so. All right, get all this kind of blocked in, and then I'll show you guys my visual references. You just blurp, 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 blurp. But yeah, the crest will probably be purple. I'll probably paint it as actual, like, spiky hair or something. Decorative piece that was added to the model, to the golem. He can have a real crest. Or maybe it's just discolored metal that discolored purple. Who knows? I'm just going to paint it purple. Call it done. I'm using that a lot lately. Used to say it all the time when we were painting in Chicago. Back in the day, you know. Alrighty, so getting some areas kind of figured in, and I need to also figure out some colors for some of this, but I think I'm going to go with the orange for all these little decorative. I'm going to go actual bronze for all these little decorative parts. I think, but we don't know. We're going to just, we're in weird territory, and we're going to stay in weird territory. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody who's new. Oh, Rune, you asked if bones need to be primed. I didn't prime this guy. Oh, I've got a mold line. Eek! Don't you hate it when you miss a mold line and it's big and obvious? No, I don't prime my bones. I wash them. I washed this one in hot, plastic bowl filled with hot water with a drizzle of dish soap. And I slooshed it around for like 30 seconds. Then I rinsed it thoroughly with repeated rinses going into the bowl until it washed clean with no suds. And then I put it on paper towel to dry for a day. And I usually find that I have no problem with Reaper paint sticking to bones after that treatment. Like, I can remember, I can count on 2 fingers the amount of time I've had a paint repellent issue on a bones doing that method. And usually it was when my base coat was very thin, because I like to work with thinner base coats and not real thick ones. And moving to a thicker base coat fixed the problem completely. I've never had to prime. So I don't. I don't think I've got the right brand of primer to really... I've got some Reaper brush on, but you don't want to brush on the whole model. Usually, unless you have a specific reason for it. Or you're using an airbrush. It just takes a lot of time. Alright, so for some reason, I totally neglected the fact that he has a big fat mold line. I'll have to go and make sure that I get some of that off. As you see, I just use a hobby knife to scrape off the mold lines on bones black. All bones, actually. There we go. Much better. Much better, Golem. Sorry about that. He's very upset at me. Can you tell? Yeah, I mean... Everybody's mileage may vary, Rune. Some people swear by priming bones and they feel strongly about it, and some people don't. I don't feel strongly about it one way or another. I just don't have problems, like, not priming them, so I don't prime them, because it's just an extra step I can skip then. So, being philosophical about it. Alright, I want to lay down a different color for my base bronze, though. So, I'm going to actually vary up my base coat a little bit, guys, so that we can... kind of see on the model how we're going. I'm actually going to use a dark green for my bronze. I think I'll use ancient oak just to give it a... You want to use a dark color as a base because you're putting metallics over it. But I just want to visually cue myself. I don't want to use that one. That one's canceled. Are you my color? No, you're not my color. Are you my color? Ancient oak is like buried. Is that going to be dark enough? I think so. Primer getting sticky is a chemical reaction. Shouldn't have anything to do with cleaning or not cleaning Alcos. But, I mean, if you clean the models and then you don't have that effect, I guess it does. Oh, I don't... if I want a black undercoat, I just paint it on. Just like we're doing the walnut on this guy. Although, like I said, I'm switching up different colors to remind myself what areas I want to be bronze, what areas I want to be purple, what areas I want to be glowing, things like that. That's just a visual reminder for me. But like if you want a color base coat on a bones, just put down a coat of paint. If you don't want to prime. If you want to prime. I mean, I'm not going to argue with you guys. You do what you want. As long as it works, it doesn't matter. This is why I don't have strong feelings about it. I'm just like, you do you, whatever. I'm going to do me. I'm not going to listen if you try to yell at me and say that I should prime things. I'm going to essentially go, no. Do you. It's always you do you. You do you, and everybody may have a little bit of a different experience. It is the sad world of mini painting. We are not consistent. But yeah, undercoating with a different color totally makes sense on bones. I'm going to do green. Let's see how this ancient oak plays. So I'm undercoating my bronze with green because I am thinking of doing some verdigris. Some worn or discolored bronze. But mostly right now, what I want to do is I want to work out what color various areas are. And I'm going to do that before I start throwing metallics on. And there is actually a reason for that. The reason is that metallic flake is like does have a the base itself is very fluid. It doesn't have a lot of body, but metallic flake itself is bulky. And so you have essentially, if you're going to do several coats of metallic for a base coat, you are going to run the risk of slightly filling in detail, in my experience. It's better then for me to figure out what color pattern I want to follow on this golem before I start throwing the metallic paint on. And since I have to do a dark undercoat to make my metallics look good anyway, I may as well do different colors of dark undercoat to signal to myself what's what. Dark green is a fine undercoat for bronze, as is dark blue. And to be very honest, although Rex has a good point that sometimes undercoat color for specific effects can be very important, at other times it really doesn't matter. And in metallics, if you're putting a lot of coats down, you end up kind of with the zenith highlighting problem where metallics will eventually cover, and some metallics like adamantium, gunmetal, scorched metal, those cover right away. Like, they're going to wipe out your undercoat. If you wanted to have some of that color show through, you're going to have to consciously leave it. It is 9412. Yeah, ancient oak. Yeah, it's bones, dudes. Like, if you don't use this color, you're missing out because it's a really cool green. Like, every guy I know, this is almost their favorite green. It's a very masculine hunter green with a bit of blue and gray in it. It's just gorgeous. It is beautiful. You should use it. Please buy it if you didn't know it exists because, I want Ed not to cancel it. It is a lovely color, as you can see. It's very cool. Like, when it comes down to it, like, just buy the Bones line. It is really the best thing. Like, hand over fist, it is the best product if considered in its entirety, the best product I think I ever produced for Reaper. The entire line, the entire Bones line, is just filled with colors that are incredibly useful. All right, so bronze. I'm going to kind of like, and the vines here, it makes sense. My inner color Anne likes the fact of making these vines green, and I may fill them in with green corrosion eventually after we put highlights, or metallics over them. But yeah, this is going to be interesting because I'm probably going to use... I wanted to actually see what you guys thought. Like, I may ignore you. I may ignore you, but I'm interested to think, or to find out what you think about how we should do the metallics here. So, would you rather, and I may decide to do both, so, you know, it's not a lot of like, don't overthink it or anything, but would you rather see me do metallics and shade them by mixing in normal colors to the metallics, like take a gold and alter it into a bronze and use it that way? Or would you rather see me do more like a use the color straight up, the metallic color straight up? So, for example, if we've got purple on our docket, would you rather see me use the metallic purple or use a different color and turn it into a purple with regular paint? Because we decided we were kind of doing a green, orange, purple on this guy, and I'm curious to see. Because the colored metallics are kind of one-trick ponies. They're great when you want a very specific effect, but it's hard to change them because they have such a high load of that specific hue. All right, so no matter what, crows, be warned. I will be using non-metallic colors to shade and highlight the paint, no matter what I do, because that's how you do good metallics. But as far as the basic colors, bronze that's aged through, we have an old bronze color, but I don't know that I want to use it because it's very dark. I find that it's a little bit harder, and I don't know if I've got dragon bronze. I'm gonna have to make a reaper order. All right, so I'm kind of working, so starting with a central point and working outward is one good way to figure out kind of what you're doing. I think now actually that I'm looking at this, I want this to be bronze. And this is where it's nice that we're working with just regular paint. If we were trying to put multiple layers of metallics over some of this nice filigree, it would be very easy to lose a little bit of the detail. Because metallics, if you apply them thickly, can get thick. Yeah, I'm not going to do aged bronze because honestly, aged bronze is just like dark brown or black with kind of bluish hints. It would be very boring. We'll see. I mean, I'm going to darken down the colors a lot, guys, with washes and glazes and stuff. When you're doing metallics, like if you want them to be interesting and to not just be like base coat, wash, highlight, you inevitably must play with them a bit. So I'm feeling like maybe chat wasn't really getting the gist of my question. So let's phrase it specifically one more time. If I'm going to use a purple on this model, would you rather I use the purple metallic or take like a silver metallic and turn it into a purple metallic? Or even a gold metallic and turn it into a purple metallic, though that's a lot harder and it ends up gold, but probably silver. I was thinking we'd go like steel with purple. And if the answer is purple metallic, we'll have to figure out a way to do that. But I'm probably going to be throwing a lot of colors into it because it's too bright for what we're doing. Many people saying just use the purple metallic. Yeah, I mean, I call it demi-metallics because that's what... Adding other colors to an existing metallic to shift it into a new color that you then utilize. Whether you are, using it for shading, highlighting, or base coating. But yeah, there's all sorts of people calling it all sorts of different things out on the internets. This is what miniature painting does to itself. But most people seem to be wanting me to use straight up purple metallic. We are actually, because I don't want this to look butt ugly, we are actually going to change that purple metallic a bit, but we will not do it by changing its fundamental nature. We will work around it, use it as a base, shade it down, highlight it up. Probably not going to be able to this time, Big Apple. It's a very muted metallic, and our color scheme is going to be pretty vibrant, I think, when it all is said and done. The purple metallic may actually work out just fine. The reason that I wouldn't use the drow on this is that because it's kind of it's a gray, it's almost like a purpley gray silver, it's muted. And so if we've got a lot of bright colors on here, those colors are going to fight with any muted color. So even when I change up and try to highlight that purple metallic, I'm going to have to keep it pretty saturated. Well, Nomad Zeke, I didn't want to make it a formal poll because as I mentioned at the beginning, I'll throw it out if I don't agree. And if it's not working, I'm not going to use it. So yeah. Hey, Lady Nim, how's it going? Yeah, that's fair, Otter Mama. Okay, we'll use the straight up purple metallic. I have it. I do have it. Let's see what I have. I probably should dig out my giant bag of metallics and grab out some things, right? So let's see what I've got. I do have Ancient Bronze, which is a very reddish bronze, and I do like it because it's it's orangey. Remember, orange, green, purple. Oh, where is my purple metallic? Sparkling Amethyst. I think the green, though, because I'm doing verdigris, the green is going to be not a metallic but a verdigris color. So let me see here. I do need something to highlight with. So let me look around a bit. I think that one looks pretty good. I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to run this. How am I going to highlight this? How am I going to highlight that, right? Where did I put my other pearl white? Are they both in here? Yeah, they are. Good. Good. All right, and then maybe some scorched metal to work with our bronze. I don't think I've got do I have old bronze in here? I do have tarnished brass, but that's the wrong color. I do have old bronze. We'll see. Maybe we'll do old bronze instead. It's kind of greeny. That could be interesting. I'm going to keep the scorched metal out just in case. I'm going to keep my pearl white out. I don't think I want red, although I might want it for the purple. I think I'm just going to want pearl white for the purple, though. So just like any other color, you want to figure out what colors you're going to use to highlight stuff. Ancient Bronze, though, I want to bring it up really kind of... bronze can get pretty yellow, so I'm going to actually bring it up with a gold, but just touches of it. And we'll work with that. We'll work with that and see what we can do. Ah, nice. Days off are wonderful. I love days off. I don't take them very often, but I do love them. So the colors that I'm playing with here, and old bronze, like I said, is it's a very greenish color, as you can see in the bottle even. This is really when your bronze is weathering down, and we could use touches of this, I think. We're going to have places here where we use like kind of a fresh bronze or a polished off bronze, and places where the bronze is aging a bit. We're going to see if we can make that work. It may end up not looking great, and just because of the color. For those who don't know about old bronze, it is a beautiful color. It's just, it's very, very greenish. See it? It is gorgeous, though. I'm unsure whether it will highlight well with Ancient Bronze, though, which shifts more toward the red. It's more of an aged, but not a, like, totally weathered out bronze. Do you guys remember the cool bronze plaque that I showed you the other day that from the Japanese garden in San Francisco? No, we do not, Quindy. I wanted purely informal. I was not looking for the chat to actually vote because I was planning on not following it. There we go. Let's see our very pretty bronze plaque. So here's a very pretty bronze plaque. And here you can see some darker, greener color where it's tarnishing out. You can also see some beautiful, beautiful reddish color. What does that look like, huh? Maybe with a little bit of a glaze on it. And then I don't think you can see it in this one. Let me see if I got another. I think I've got another plaque. Hold on. Where is another plaque? Yeah, and this is far more tarnished out. So this is more old bronze. Is this plaque? And you can see how it's all verdigris. And this one just doesn't get petted as much as the other plaque. You haven't been bamboozled, War Shadow. I told you in the beginning I wasn't going to listen to you if I didn't like the answer, but I was curious. I am actually going to listen to you on one because I actually would not have taken the purple metallic and worked with it. I would have totally done a different metallic because I would be worried that the color of the amethyst would be too much. But because of you, I will listen. But anyway, so yeah, this is where you'd use old bronze, where if you were doing like a totally verdigreed out thing, you can see that the colors that we made for Reaper actually are the colors of these things. This is what I'm trying to illustrate, is that it's way cool that way. I can listen to you and not like follow your advice. I mean, that's the thing. You always give people a listen, but if the advice doesn't ring true for you, don't follow it. Never tie yourself into, oh my gosh, I will absolutely follow this person's advice. If they give you crappy advice, you need to reserve the right to not follow it. I agree, Monster. I have no idea how other companies like come up with some of their colors. I personally always made it kind of a point of pride to really research a color that I was trying to imitate. Really research it and get as close as I could, so that it was actually, like, it made sense, right? I liked my colors to make sense. There are some times in the later years where we got a bit fanciful with the colors, but, let's see. I think I want to do bronze around his neck collar. Do I want to do that? Yeah, probably. We have to kind of think about where we want steam to be coming out of. And he's also got this kind of skin, almost, sculpted skin back there. That almost says I should make it more of the really dark color. But then I need to figure out... Oh, and there should be heat coming out of these, because those are absolutely vents. Let's do that. I want my base coat brush. I want a base coat brush. Where are you, base coat brush? There you are. Remember, I'm using a cheaper sable to base coat with these days. I used to do that a lot. Then I got lazy and out of the habit. But now I have a base coating brush that I like. So I'm back to doing that. So we're just going to, essentially, a complex model like this, guys, with so many different surfaces, you could just do the whole thing in one dark color and just figure it out as you went. But I like to really alternate and look at it and look at the aesthetic and kind of figure out how does this actually look like? Where do I actually want the verdigris? Where does it make sense? Where does it, set off this color to go this way? So I tend to go, when I've got a model that's this complicated, I tend to go very slowly figuring out where I want any given color to go. That's funny, War Shadow. Name your dog 5 Miles. You'd end up just calling him like Fiver for short, and then everybody would think it was a Watership Down reference. At least the people enlightened enough to have read Watership Down would. Or I guess now they'd think it was a, selling your art cheap online reference. Sadly. Sadly, the modern understanding of the word Fiverr is different. They were like, what? Did you get your dog off of the internet? Was he cheaply made? Yeah, absolutely, Hudson. Ila Herrera, yes. Watership Down is one of my favorite books of all time. It's in my top 5, so... I don't think I read it as much as I read The Hobbit when I was like in grade school and high school, but I read it a lot of times. Immense amounts of times. I was a big reading nerd, so yeah, big wig for president for sure. Oh, got a little bit of a mold line there. I didn't quite get it all. Watership Down. Book by Richard Adams about rabbits. Except it's like a fantasy rabbit story. It's a book that really, I think he had to submit it like 30 or 40 times before he found somebody who wanted to publish it, just because they couldn't classify it. Like, they couldn't figure out what niche it would go into. It plainly wasn't a children's story because it had some scary stuff in it. But it was still rabbits talking, having a society, and, you know, about a group of them that had to go out and make their own place in the world. And so it's fantastic. My favorite thing about it is the rabbit mythology. So it is a really well-written book. And it's classic fantasy. It's an example of what you can do by not sticking to the tropes, in my opinion. But yeah, it's a lot of American schools teach it. My school did. We watched the movie in class because we were reading it. One of my classmates who was kind of a jerk, who used to take his BB gun and or his little, I forget if it was, I think it was a BB gun. He used to go and take pot shots at rabbits. Essentially admitted that after he read Watership Down, he couldn't do it anymore. He would just think about Fiver or Bigwig, and he would just stop. He couldn't just pot shot rabbits anymore. Big Apple, you should always put a dark undercoat under your metallics from Reaper, or really any company, because most miniatures companies use the exact same flakes or equivalents thereof. Miniatures flakes are always based around a translucent flake, an actual tiny little flake substance. Most of the time it's mica based, so it's actually rocks, but it's translucent rocks, which is why it gets so shiny. And the colors are essentially because they've been given a coating that will then work with that, a translucent coating that will work with that. But because all of the flakes aren't solid, they actually, in order to be shiny, they need to let light through them. They don't make a good covering, a good solid covering themselves. They're really made to go over dark paint. So you've got to start by laying down a dark base coat for your metallics. It can be any color. Like I said, I'm using this. This is about as dark as or as light as I'd go, though. Because you can see the walnut is much darker than the green. I wouldn't go much lighter than this green. But browns and reds are good base coats for gold, even purples. Browns are really good for everything. I usually use a dark blue or gray for my steel colors. I don't like using pure black because I find that that's just a little bit too dark. I find that black, sometimes if the paint is very translucent, black is just a little bit too much. It'll actually cover better over a slightly lighter undercoat. I mean, you could use black Big Apple, and with a lot of metallic paints, it'll work just fine. But I don't know. I don't like it quite as much myself. I doubt if there's an actual chemical difference. So if you want to use black, use black. But the reason that I'm doing this on this model, which I was just explaining earlier, is that there's going to be different colors of metallics on this model. And there's also going to be glowing sections on this model. And so essentially the color that I'm using to base coat here as I work around this is to remind me to work out how I'm alternating my bronze colors with my other areas. Because I really want to have some alternating areas on this. The majority of the model will be bronze, but there are some other colors that we're going to be working with. I want some accents that are not bronze, so that's why. Does that make sense to you? You can use any color you want. I don't even know, I think it makes a difference as far as gold. I find that sometimes you can get a little bit of a richer color at first over a rich brown or red. However, just like I mentioned earlier with Zenith, if you do a lot of coats of the metallic over the top, your base coat really isn't mattering anymore. Then it's the color of the metallic. Because it's once you get solid enough to get true 100% coverage over your base color is no longer a factor. I just reiterated a lot of what I said in the beginning, Twisted Oma. Except I didn't reiterate the fact that we're going to make part of this model glowing because it's supposed to have a big steam boiler in its chest. I would go read up on 5th edition bronze golems and you'll see what I mean. So essentially that lets us do some superheated metal, and there aren't many models where that's appropriate, so I'm going to take the opportunity here Just going to look at what some of this is. I want to alternate a little bit. I'm not even going to touch this right now, I think. This is a very complicated model, and this is why I am breaking it up with different colors. I want to really see where I'm going. I'm going to grab some Sticks Purple to show where my purple's going to go next. Where are you, Sticks? There it is. Sticks is a nice dark purple, but it's not terribly dark. It's kind of in the range of shade that Dagen Oak is. Yeah, I mean, if you're using actual scorched metal, if you're using 9125, 9125 has really good coverage out the gate. So does adamantium black. You probably don't need a base coat on it. The reason is that these colors, because they're so dark, you should actually understand this, these colors do have black pigment in them already quite a bit, and that can essentially act that way. It'll act like, it'll make the flake kind of react like as if it had a dark base coat. So some of our darker metallics do cover very well for that reason. Like much better than dark metallics in general, or much better than metallics in general. There is always science. Science and thought went into building Master Series. Much thought. All right, I think I'm going to go... This is going to be interesting. So, we are going to use purple. People want to use actual amethyst purple, but up here I might make this just like a hair. I'm not sure yet. We'll paint it in purple to remind ourselves that it's going to be purple. So what I'm doing is using these dark base coats not only to be a base for the metallics when I start to set them down, but also to be a visual cue to me and to allow me to map out the different metallic areas that I'm going to be using before I actually put metallic paint on there, because metallic paint and its flake can build up quickly and obscure detail quickly, especially when you use it full strength. And most of the time you're using it close to full strength to get a nice solid coat on it. And because once you add too much water to metallics, they tend to fall out of solution very fast, because guess what? They're made with rocks, people. Rocks are heavier than water. If you want your metallics to go thinner but to stay in solution, use a medium of some sort. Gloss sealer works great. You can use a little bit of water, but you don't want to go too far or your rocks will sink. It's that simple. It's simple physics. It's intuitive. Paint chemistry is more intuitive than you think it is. I am going to follow my gut. Go this down here. This would have been an easier bronze with a red, yellow, blue scheme, but more people wanted a green, blue, purple. So we're going to try it. We're going to... no guarantees on what this morphs into at the end, but doing the molten thing actually works really well with that, so... All right, once I've got most of this area mapped out, we'll start doing some glowies. We'll start figuring out where our steamy vents are. Yeah, sure, why not? I want to alternate colors. I want to start alternating, so... This purple's probably going to be shaded down very, very dark because I don't want it to be garish. And that's the danger with amethyst, is that it can get... Well, yeah, they do. That's the secret of metallic pink, Clavicus. Hold on. Drop brush. Must rescue. The secret of metallic paint is very small rocks do float. That's why metallic paint works. They're just floating in a much thicker stratum. And you can add a little water to them and they will still float. But when you add too much water, the density of the rocks is greater than the thing that you have now mixed and they sink. So Monty Python got it partially right. Very small rocks do float. However, they did not get it partially right in that they did not allow for a change in the stratum that the rocks are suspended in. But then, Monty Python offer you a valuable lesson in not overthinking things. Many painters, I find, are prone to overthinking. Humans probably are prone to overthinking. All right. If I was doing a very muted color scheme, guys, I could use Skeleton Key and the new Drow Silver. Those colors would go together. But it would be a really grayed out color scheme. And I mean, we're doing a lot of muted colors right now. We're doing it on our Necromancer. We're doing it on our Mushroom Queen. We're going muted even with our Wyvern. So we haven't done like a brighter color model, a more saturated model for a little while. So that is why I'm doing this. I kind of feel like I made an error there. Yeah, I did. So once again, this is like allowing me to stop and think, okay, what am I really doing here? And I think I am doing like hot, glowy stuff coming up out of this. So I'm going to change it. Because these vents here around his neck could easily be heat vents. So I'm going to stop and rebase. So this is where it's nice that I am just working with regular paint at this point and not metallics. So you want to think about that. If you're trying to like do an effect on a model and you're working out like where you want that effect to be. Go slow and think about it. And if your gut tells you that you should go with a different color, go with it. Yeah, I think I'm going to go down there. I think I'm going to do all of that in dark, and then I can kind of go charred there, and then I can go bronze down below, which was bothering me what I was going to do with this part back here. So yeah. Back and forth, back and forth. And I do want to repeat this glowing kind of, since I decided that he's got this superheated center engine in him because of D&D. It's all D&D's fault. I do want to make sure that I've got some of that at various places, which is why we're going to make these vents glow a bit. Sorry, Shadow Raven, you have to go watch the VOD. The summary is small rock, very small rocks float. Oh, I got a little bit too much brown on that. That's supposed to be green. So essentially what we're trying to portray is like a magical bronze golem, but that has like certain venting points and heat sinks where at specific places on the structure, it's venting heat, that great heat that's in it. So we'll have cooler bronze in some areas, and especially cooler bronze as we move down. And we'll be doing that. All right, I think I'm going to do a lot of bronze now. It is a bronze golem. Right now our bronze is not taking over the whole model, so I am going to go heavy on the bronze. But first I'm going to fill out this collar, the bottom part of it. So I'm going to make green my default from here on out because that's where I want my bronze. And I think that since the generator, or the heat generator, is supposed to be in the model's like chest and upper portion, that as we go down the model, there'll be a lot more bronze. And maybe toward the bottom is where we get some serious aging and verdigris as we get out in the cooler areas. I think this will be fun. And it's got so much, there's so much fine detail and filigree type stuff on this model. Doing it in metallics is going to be a real challenge. We're going to have to do some heavy shaded metallics to get it to work. I'm curious to see if the heat effect is going to fight with the metallics. But as I always tell you guys, even if you think you know something, even if you think something doesn't work with something else because you've tried it before, revisit it at some point and just check, because you never know. This would be a good bronze area. We need a nice, solid, huge bronze area on this upper part of the model, and these big shoulder pads with the dragon scale pattern are going to be a great place to do some like detailed verdigris and shinies. Big rounded areas. Gotta get more of our bronze on here. So in case you haven't figured it out, purple areas, of course, are going to be purple. Green areas are going to be bronze, though, with the potential of green verdigris. And then the dark areas are going to be orange, because glowy effects. Here, let me... I'll bring up my photos that I was looking at. All right. Sit, stay dry a little bit, little dude. All right, so when you look up molten bronze on the internet or heated bronze on the internet, you get some really cool pictures. Like this one. So you can see that only the very coolest parts get like almost that pure black with that gray kind of cold, ashy look to it. And then anything warmer is much warmer and much more brown in the shadows in these little areas. And you don't really get above a yellow in these photos, though they are definitely using like special cameras because, I mean, it is white hot metal. What's the other good? There's another good picture here. Hold on. And there's bronze being poured. Yeah, that's what people voted on, War Shadow. I had them do an actual vote on it. So it does get up to quite a bright yellow, but we're going to be doing it orangey. And we will take it up to white on the glowy effects because you really want that. Hold on, let me see. I've got one more picture here I think I really liked. One sec. That actually illustrates the colors I'm going for. It's almost a purple where it's cooling here around the edge. It's not as ashy as the other container. You can see the deep red you can get. You see the transition here from like a purple brown all the way out to a red and an orange. And then when you've got the hotter surface that's lit by the molten bronze also, you get almost to white here. And you get the light actually shining on the inside of it. So that's kind of a good picture of the color transitions. And it's mostly purple-orange. Purple-red-orange. Right, but it's heated metal that I'm going for, Crows. I just want heated metal. The bronze, you wouldn't melt bronze in a crucible that's made of bronze. I get that. I do get it. But what I'm looking at here, because I was thinking that this plate is probably not bronze or it would melt. Of course, they're using magic too. So since they're using magic, you can't really, you have to extrapolate. But mostly what I'm using these photos for is not specifically to give you guys the color of heated bronze, but to see how metal that's heated, like, is changed by where it's hotter or cooler. So sorry I wasn't clear on what I was trying to show with those. But yeah, it's like, molten bronze itself is pretty boring. It's like white, yellow, orangey hot. It's like that. And since we're not showing anything that's actually truly molten, we're showing a shell. We're showing heated. But heated bronze, I mean, they've got a fun, oh, that's like totally fake. It's just, you're using these searches as a way to get ideas. and a way to understand. Yeah, you're using this for color suggestions for heated metal. That's interesting. I think I will do that bronze though. Some of these shapes you kind of stop and you're like, well, what should I do with that? But I think the purple is going to be kind of like used to represent non-armor. And then the green is going to be used to represent bronze. But yeah, we don't have any actual like containers or pots of molten bronze on this model, so we aren't like really using that. But we are going to have superheated metal, which may be bronze or not bronze, depending on how much of the model is bronze and how much of it has other metals worked in. I'm not a golem purist. I kind of feel like, you know, a golem does not have to be entirely iron or bronze. I was thinking that the breastplate on this guy was probably actually like, you know, steel to contain that heat. Again, once you introduce magic into the equation, then you're kind of like question mark, and you just have to make your best gut assessment. And there is definitely metal in, you know, or magic in the working of these guys, so any realism factor that you use, you know, is kind of, it's not doomed to fail, but like any realism factor you used, you can also just go magic and do whatever you want. I just like to look at, like, especially with heated stuff, it helps to look at those gradients, at those, you know, what color does heated metal tend to turn? It tends to be very similar across different kinds of metal. Mostly what you want are heated metal references so you can make it look real. Oh, I imagine in gaming there's a purist for everything, right? I could do glowiness there. That would be interesting. I'm getting all sorts of ideas. I don't know if they're all gonna work for glowingness. Although I've already got kind of heat vents up there and there, so I don't know that I need heat vents on the inside of this shoulder here. We'll think about it. I'm also trying to alternate and go back and forth between colors here to make this a little more interesting for you guys. This is a big model. It is going to take a long time. Some of you may get bored. I don't know. I'm hoping I won't get bored. Because sometimes when you're painting, well, it was like the Fire Giant King, right? He was just too big. There was just too much going on. So the redeeming quality of this guy is that a lot of what he's going on is going to be kind of the same color. So it's going to be mostly figuring out shading, highlighting, bringing out details. All right, so that's going to be all molten through there. This guy has some more skin in here and here. They're not meant to influence. I don't expect them to influence it, Trash. I mean, if you used really translucent coats, it could, but mostly these are me working out my color scheme before I start putting down metallic paints. Just like with Zenith highlighting, once you put enough of a solid coat on to really get coverage over your base coat will not affect the color of the metallic at all. It's much more effective, I find, to use that color to actually shade the metallic once it's down than to put on an undercoat and try to preserve some aspect of that undercoat. In my own experience, I've just had far better results doing that. I have used the colored undercoat to, you know, influence my overcoat at times, but yeah. After repeated, like, mucking with metallics, I really do feel that the shaded metallic Yeah, it's just going to be a lot of repetition, Twisted Oma, because so much of this model is like a particular color and there's particular things going on. Which is why I do tend to avoid sometimes models that are very large and repetitious, but we'll see. We're going to give this guy a try. And see if we can keep it interesting. Alrighty. So are his giant fists going to be bronze, or am I going to make them like silver steel? I kind of feel like I want to make those ram's heads an accent color. I think I might go purple with them and highlight them up with silver or something like that. I kind of feel like that's the way I'm going. I want to get the last bits of this mold line I played with earlier out of here. Let's back out. Yep, there we are. While I do some mold line scraping, since we're going to get down there. And then, what time is it? All right, yeah, it's time to stretch. So I'll scrape this mold line. I will do a stretch. And then when I come back, we'll start on our glowing effect. We'll start figuring it out just because I can jump ahead. And that'll give me time to think about what I really want to do color-wise with these fists. It's going to be interesting. Maybe I could do a purple and bronze. Maybe I could just go with a slightly different bronze. No, this is interesting. We could also think about like the fact that the fists probably are the area where you wouldn't see a lot of tarnish because they're pounding things. So they're going to be a really bright bronze. So maybe we make these fresher looking and not verdigris. Yeah, this is going to be a difficult model for sure, Twisted Oma. You are correct. You are correct. I'm going to do one more area and then I'll do my stretch. I want to get this ring here. I mean, it's going to be a challenge just for shaded metallics alone. It's going to be a lot like the Fire Giant, except if we had done the Fire Giant in metallics. And that one, I just ran out of steam on. I'm like, all right, I'm done. At some point, I suppose I could dig it out and we could go through it again because you guys have slept since then, so you've forgotten a lot of it. And then Ron might eventually get a finished Fire Giant King. Although I think he already has one from Rex, so he probably doesn't need one from me. Alrighty. And that's going to be bronze as well. Yeah, I think the fun part of this is going to be kind of transitioning some of the bronze from really fresh and polished to a little more tarnished to heavily verdigrised. I think that may be, if we can pull that off, like that's not easy necessarily, but I think it could be fun. But yeah, he is very, very detailed. He has a lot of detail. So I think this skirting here is going to be purple in the, like, on the actual, like, skirt. But then the tips here are going to be bronze. That's what I think. And I think the last place that we show some heat coming out might be these little nubbins on his knees. That could be gaskets. Because we don't want to totally drop the superheated stuff. We having a small touch of it near the bottom, even though it doesn't make as much story sense. Probably makes sense to have glows coming out of wherever one, like where this boot meets the leg and stuff. I don't know, we'll think about it. I don't want to go too crazy with glowing because this is not the key theme or element that we're concentrating on here. And it's easy to go way too over the top with your glow effects. Also, since this area is in shadow, it really wouldn't do well down here, so probably not. Yep, it's going to be OSL toes, except I was going to verdigris those pretty heavily, Trash, because that's where he's going to be striding through stuff, stepping in puddles of blood, you know, stuff like that. So it's likely where where he would be heavily verdigreed, would be down here on his lower legs. And that's why I was thinking that we'd start out with like shinier bronze and heated bronze, and then as things go down would be more where he gets more verdigris. That makes sense to you guys? Does that the thought process make sense? Here. All right, I am gonna do my stretches. I like his hands and his feet a lot. I think I like this sculpt. It's just a great character. It has a ton of character sculpt and a ton of detail. It really looks like a golem that cost 10,000 gold to make, you know? It's just the race car of golems. I guess iron golems are probably more expensive, right? But alrighty. If you've been sitting for a long time, feel free to join me in a stretchy break. It always helps to keep limber. Oh, I don't even need to do that, Twisted Oma. All I need to do is talk. Then you'll all have a mini Anne voice in your head. That's what happened to the paint club people. Those poor paint clubbers. They're so doomed. They're gonna have me in their heads forever. Stretch, a stretch, a stretch. Trying to remind my shoulders that they do not always need to hunch forward. Alrighty, I'm going to do my floor stretches, and I will be right back, guys. Alright. We are good. Let us get back and do some hot stuff. Yeah, I didn't get any other expansions either, Crows. The Greek Odyssey was the one that where I liked a ton of it. Like, I liked almost the entire expansion. So that was the one I went in for. Oh, your cat can just bugger off, Grey Mouser. It's good for you. A couple months, I think, Henry. Like, they try to fulfill as much as they honestly can. Then they assess how much they've got left of various things and what order they want to release stuff in. You know, Ron is probably working pretty hard on that. The only things I got were the transparent gemstone dragon, the Kid Adventurers, the Greek Odyssey, and the Mandapar Pass encounter. Those were what I got. I'm a starving artist, guys. You're supporting me. You should know this. You know how much money I make a month. Plus a little extra from like Reaper and commissions and stuff. So I could not afford to go whole hog and on the Reaper Bones Kickstarter. Like, I only got that much. Yeah. Yeah. There's, yeah, Bones. It just never ends, guys. It never ends. Just pick the stuff you love the best. And then pick up the rest. Some of you are lucky and, like, have the money to, like, go really whole hog in on the Kickstarter. And I love seeing you do that because you're just all so excited. Plus, you help unlock stuff for everybody else. Alrighty. Got that stuff figured out. Now I can work on this heat stuff. So, if these lines on the chest were recessed, I would make them glowing, which would be a little more successful, to be absolutely frank. But since they're not, I'm probably going to have to make the recessed area glowing and make these thicker lines cooler. So let's grab some white because we're underpainting. Once again, we're underpainting. As whole hog as you could without needing to build an extension on the house. Oh no. Oh, yummy. You have yum, Twisted Oma. There we go. So I'm going to grab my white. I'm going to thin it way down, 1 to 1 probably, because I want to build up layers here. Or decide what is actually like kind of glowing and what is not glowing as much. The cool thing with the ram head is that I can make the entire area around it glow. And make the ram head itself a little cooler so the details come out. We'll see what I can do with that. Mostly I want it to look cool. I'm going to base this on like nature, but I want it to look cool. Now I'm going to switch to a much thinner brush. Yeah, that's why David and I are looking for a place with a lot more storage. Because hobby storage, necessities, life goals. Time to put a little extension, what do they call it? ADU? In your backyard. Just for the miniatures. Alright, I'm going to block in some of this. I'm actually not going to worry about going over the struts too much. If it goes up on the struts, I'm alright. And I think I want it to be stronger toward the middle. As if his heart's in the center of his chest. As if that heat source is in the center of the chest. So I want this white. You can see how thin the white is. Like, it's not really giving me a very strong white. That's exactly what I want. I want to build this white up so that it's stronger toward the middle. Once I have these blocked in around the struts, then we'll really focus toward the middle of the chest. And out toward the edges of this, we'll get a little bit like purpley red probably. And toward the middle, we'll get very bright orange. So it's not that, when I say it's a green, orange, purple color scheme, it's not that those are the only colors that we're using. Now, down here, I'm still going to do this, but down here it's a much less effective because this part is in shadow. So we're not going to see much light down there, and we're really just going to keep it a little sullen, because since this part is naturally falling into shadow, doing a light effect down there won't be successful. It's only successful when you're looking at the model like where light is actually shining on it. Honestly, Zaku, I've got we have a shelving unit that's in our closet. It takes up half the closet. A little less than half the closet, I think. And I pretty much use, like, boxes and containers on that shelving unit to organize my collection. Some of it has since overflowed. I do have a box of boxes that takes priority. That is, like, some of the models that I'm super excited about. And that actually sits out here more in the room, just under my table here. The box of boxes is like the stuff that I'm really excited about. Before I moved, I did get rid of a lot of my collection. I kind of went through everything and made them fight for my love, and offered the remainder to my paint club friends and stuff, my painting friends, my local painting friends, because I didn't want to move it. And honestly, some of those models I had had for years and not touched. So I really had to ask myself, because I didn't want to move so much, I really had to ask myself, are you actually really, can you envision yourself painting this? And if I got a yes, then I kept it. And if I got a no, then it found a new home. Yeah, displays are really nice, Coobs. We have several small cabinets from IKEA. The ones that Reaper uses, and it's, if you've been to ReaperCon, if you've taken the tour and you've gone to the gallery, it's those vertical, kind of square. They're really tall, but skinny. They don't have a big footprint, so they're easy to, like, set back against walls and stuff and in corners. Those cases are really nice for a display for minis. They're maybe a bit tall. Like, David actually converted one to have more shelves. So you can buy extra shelves for them, although it's not cheap sometimes. Because IKEA just seems to not understand that extra shelving would be good for those. So now we're gonna focus, guys. See, we're gonna bring the glow toward the middle here. Gotta figure out where our glow is gonna be strongest. And bring it up the most toward there. And I went a little strong with these guys down here, so I'm going to actually knock them back. Yeah, that's too bad, Coops, because that's, like, other than a wall-mounted cabinet, that's the easiest thing to do, is those IKEA cases. But I feel you. I mean, David and I have very little space where we live right now. And we've had to, because we don't want every room to be really cluttered, most of our chaos of our hobby is here in the hobby room. And we only allow, like, there's only one miniatures display cabinet out in the main room. But we've been looking for a place for a while, so. Yeah, I tend to organize my boxes by, like, subject matter or scale, Zaku, also. So, like, I have a lot of, like, the Andrea Warlord Saga boxes, and those tend to go in a box with my other 54mm models. So you can also do that sort of organization. When I was actively GMing a game, I put all of the models, you know, that I was going to use in the campaign in one separate box, so it was easier to find them when I needed them. So I would recommend, like, if you do use the box or Nook storage type of thing, or different containers, that you pretty much lay everything out and figure out something that makes intuitive sense for you, so that you can easily find things and you don't have to look through everything. Yeah, vertical space. If you have a way to do vertical spacing, that's always good. David has a couple of things that can, like, raise things higher, although honestly, since a lot of what we do is busts and they're up on plinths, they tend to be taller anyway. So we've managed that way. All right. So the key here is that we want you to really see the light and thus the heat gathering as we go toward the center of the model. So that's when we start to layer up this white and make it brighter toward the center. And we will use, since reds and yellows and oranges are somewhat transparent colors, we know that undercoating in white is going to make them look brighter when it comes down to it. So let's get that there, and then I want to go down to Mr. Ram. And block in around his little head. using a layering brush stroke, so it starts out more transparent on the outside, and then it gets stronger toward where I pick the brush up. Oh, I haven't seen the new Sebastian Archer bus. Right now, I'm trying to fight off the urge to go in on a Kickstarter. I'll probably win. Let's see, we're gonna bring that up here. Remember that glow effects always, as I mentioned earlier, are always the best when an area is not in strong shadow. So areas like this that are on the front of the model and pretty shallowly sculpted without a lot of overhang, like doing it here would be a bad idea because you can see the shadow here. Doing it down here is a bad idea. We're gonna paint these a darker red or purpley color to show that the heat is cooling off there. But yeah, so use your, try not, when you're doing a glow or heat effect, because they're kind of the same thing, keep in mind that you don't want to sabotage yourself by trying to do it in an area with a really strong overhang. Now I might want a little bit of stronger white here, because I'm going to be doing really thin lines to try to bring out areas of this ram skull. So I'm going to add to my white a little bit. Yeah, shelf organizers or spice racks can definitely add height to your miniatures cabinet. Yeah, cats are hard because they get on top of things, and so using a bookshelf is like right out unless it's glass fronted. And those tend to be expensive. There was one time we had a stray cat that we had temporarily were fostering for adoption at Reaper, and I got so mad at her because we kept her in the back hallway, which is where the painting room was, and she would get up on the shelves and knock miniatures off. It was very annoying. So yeah, I feel you on the cat quandary, so to speak. Just trying to get a little sense on if I can do these little recessed areas here as glowing areas, or if I'm going to be foiled when I try to do that. Sometimes you just got to kind of map it out and see if it works visually. And if it works, awesome, go for it. And if it doesn't, just drop it. Yeah, I just got mad because I really didn't want the cat in that room. But inevitably, like, somebody would keep a door, it would open up a door, and, you know, you kind of had to in the summer because you needed the AC to actually equalize in that part of the building, so. I will admit, that is one of the reasons I don't want to own another cat right now. Just, like, so much for them to get into. Plus, we don't have room for a litter box. There's nowhere to put it, so it's not a point. I feel like it's going to be enough of a thing to get David, who is not a pet owner, like, to get him, like, really to like a dog. Then maybe at some point I can work on him liking a cat. But I feel like the cat is actually a harder sell since he really liked Kiri, my dog. So I feel like I've already got a leg up on getting David to accept a dog. Sometimes you want to pin down the model just so you can do a little tiny line. There we go. So now that's starting to look like maybe it's leaking power. Oh, yeah, you're lucky that Bob's cat knew to... I had a cat My last cat actually respected my work area. He did not get up on stuff. He was not a counter cat or a table cat or a bookshelf cat. He loved to be on the bed on this really soft blanket. That was his happy place. So he was a really good cat, Panther was. That was Mama San's son. For those of you who knew Mama San at Reaper. All right, now I'm going to lighten up areas that are really close to the head to try to bring this illusion together. I'm going to try to darken everything to make it look like the cracks. There are cracks in this bronze ram's head. Yeah, I want this ram's head to look like kind of it's like gotten cracked, and that heat, because it's sculpted with these little lines kind of partitioning it. So I can make like the heat come out there. But I'm going to go a little heavier with it now that I've got it kind of mapped in. But you can kind of see how, you know, it could look like it's molten and it's cracked along the seam lines of the head. I feel like I really needed to take this small break from being a pet owner for a little while. I'm pretty happy that I did. I miss Kiri like the dickens, don't get me wrong, but I also remember how stressful it was to move with her and have her here in the apartment with her issues, with her aging issues. So part of me is still kind of relieved not to have to worry so much. So I'm enjoying my break from animals. I will really be excited when I can get a new puppy. Really, really excited. But I think taking a break was good for me. It lets me worry about me and not other living things. Because much as I've always loved my animals and much as I've always had them, like for over 30 years I've had them, I had to admit to myself that it was a source of stress too, worrying about them and their health and how they were doing, and because a lot of them were aging. So I'm okay with not having an animal right now. And it does allow me to worry about myself instead of an animal. And kind of, you know, work on myself a bit. So, though I will be happy when I can get a new puppy. I'm okay with it right now, I think. There was a time after Kiri passed where I really wanted another dog so bad. I could see how people would lose their old dog and immediately go to the shelter to get a new dog. Like, I'd never experienced that before, but I loved Kiri so much. So I totally get that now. Oh, yay, puppy fix. Getting your new puppy on Monday? Congratulations, Basement. Are you excited? I hope you're excited. Puppies are so awesome. They're such trouble and so much work, but they are awesome. And you have your own, your little life that you can try to shape into a good canine member of society. I just love how they learn. I love teaching them. I love training them. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's going to be super Basement. Oh, totally. How old are your kids? Oh, yeah. Perfect. Perfect age for puppy. That's so exciting. I'm so happy for you. I bet your family's going to be over the moon. That's great. What kind of dog have you told me before, Basement? Oh, boxer, good. Sweet. Yeah, that's going to be super fun for your kids. I'm so happy for you. That's when I think I was around 10 when we got our Sheltie when I was a kid. It was the best. So as you can see, we're making it a little stronger here. And I may have gone a little too strong with the forehead crack there, so I'm probably going to dial it back a bit. Because I don't want to lose the shape of everything. Oh, still need a name. Well, then the family, after you get the puppy, your family must convene and have the great naming session. That's what my family did. We all sat down at the kitchen table, and Dad let everybody put in 3 names. And then we talked until we got to the final. Yeah, that's fun. It's always fun when you have the pet Instagrams or the pet Facebook pages. I did a blog for my dog. Kiri and Leo both had blogs. By the time we got Thorn and Blazy, I had a lot less time, so I didn't have the time to do the blog. Although Kiri got blogs for every litter of puppies she had. So it was a good way to update all of the puppy people. Alrighty, and then this horn needs a little bit of a highlight as well. We're getting in some of that. That's starting to look good. Yeah, I liked doing it as a family when I was a kid. I think one of Dad's ideas ended up winning, but like we all could like see like if a majority of people didn't like a name, then it was crossed out and you went on to the next one. And you had enough names, because there were 4 of us, my mom, my dad, and my brother and me. And so we had 12 names going in. So it would narrow down and narrow down. And at the end, everybody could more or less agree on a name. And it was a cool thing to do as a family, right? No, I think it needs to be. I mean, there's so few opportunities these days, it seems like, for families to like come together and really, really do something like fun and creative. And that's a fun and creative thing that you can do that all of your kids can do. Give them like when the puppy arrives, it's just like, oh my gosh, and say, okay, by tonight, you all have to have 3 names picked that you want to put into the jar. We're all going to talk about it and name our puppy. So yeah, I don't know. It was just really fun when our family did that. So I still remember it. Okay. Like you know how much you forget from when you were a kid, right? A ton of stuff, but I still vividly remember sitting down with that list of names with everybody and us just talking about naming our puppy. Ah, yeah. I like the co-op thing because especially with children, it teaches them compromise, right? It teaches them like that. Sometimes you have to work together toward an outcome. And even if you don't get the thing that you desperately want, you get a thing that you're okay with, right? I think that's important. It's a good opportunity. 'Cause you can't always have what you want. But at least you can contribute to an outcome that you're okay with. I'm going to kind of make it a little heavier here next to the eye and see if I like how that looks. Yeah, I tend to choose mythological names also. Yeah, good life skills, right? It's an opportunity. Like, I always think of this with puppies, right? Every day is an opportunity to teach your puppy another cool thing, or that something isn't scary, or, and so every day, I mean, with kids, it's very similar, right? When you have an opportunity to kind of like do something like that, take it. You might not get another one. Plus, that's a fun one. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you bet, Valandar. I like that song. I'm not I like certain songs from the Stones. I'm not a huge Stones fan. They say you either resonated like with the Stones or the Beatles. Like you would resonate with one more than the other. And I definitely was more of a Beatles girl when I was a kid. But yeah, Otter, I named mine from myths, and then when we bred our dogs, when we became breeders, our kennel name was Sparta, because 300 had come out that year, and the previous year, and we had named our first Shiloh Leonidas. So we just decided it had a ring, and we liked it, and so there was a lot of Greek mythology running around. So historical or mythological names. All right, so that's looking pretty good, I think. So all that tuning, but now I need to bring up the really far in parts of the chest here, so we can see the white hot glow. That's funny, again, with your cat names. I like it. Yeah, exactly. Well, it's the kennel name, so it was Zion's King Leonidas of Sparta was Leo's registered name, and he lived up to it. I mean, he was he won more, he won a crap ton of best in shows. I think he won 8 or 9 or 10, and for a rare breed dog, that's like insane. Because we didn't show that much. I do enjoy showing. I think that the new puppy will go to the shows. It's such good socialization for them, too. Traveling and going to hotels and meeting strangers. Peggy. There we go. We're getting that heat toward the middle there. That is working pretty well. So we're just essentially, by doing this, we're intimating that the material that's used to make this and the material that's used to make that is of a different type. And so it's letting the heat kind of glow through it a bit more than these bracing materials that are used on the sides of the armor and such. Mischievous Mountain Spirit. That's a great one. I like that. Let's see, what do we got? Oh my gosh, we've gone late. Oh noes. All right, well then I'm going to stop here. I need to get on my schedule. Need to get out for my walk. We accidentally went over because we were having fun talking about pet names and lighting effects. So we've got our heat source outlined here. We're going to call it here. I am going to, I guess I'll see you guys. This one is going to be a little longer because it always offsets by one day. So the next day this will be on is a Monday. Not this coming Monday, but the following Monday. So it's going to be a little bit until we come back to this guy. But what we did today is we talked about metallics and undercoating with various colors or undercoating with dark. We chose some metallic colors to hopefully use on this model. We used the color coding system to kind of work out what each surface was going to be about. We talked about molten metal, colors to use to represent it. And then finally, at the end, I'm mapping out my underpainting of that glow effect with the molten metal in the pure white. So we did a lot today. We talked about a lot today. And then we talked about naming pets. And that's, always a good wrapper. So thank you, everybody, for coming along on the ride. Quindy, do we have a raid set up? Oh, and 3 p.m. Central for Reaperland. Let's not forget. Oh, also thank you to all of you who came out for my personal stream yesterday. I have a personal stream on twitch.tv/paintingbig. It's on Thursdays at 4 p.m. USA Central Time. And then I also have a Patreon, patreon.com/paintingbig, where I do all my cool PDFs and focused videos that have a lot less talking about naming your pets and a lot more talking about actual painting. Here we are, we're queued up. Go over, say hi to Luca. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you again on Monday. Thanks, guys.